Hey everybody, welcome back to the Next Degree podcast, where real talk meets very real world solutions when it comes to graduating as a first generation student, or just graduating and matriculating through the educational world in general. I'm your host, Daniel McKenzie, here at the Family Centered Educational Agency. And today we are talking about the FAFSA. As we know, October 1st is the date that the FAFSA is set to open. So we are gearing ourselves up, as well as our families and our community up, for that experience. We know it can be a huge hurdle, but we know that with help, that it can be a much more seamless process. So today we will be talking about common FAFSA mistakes that we see families make and roadblocks that hinder them and even lead towards families being selected for what you call verification, which is what you don't want. So that being said, I've invited a very special guest, a friend of mine, a coworker of mine, Patrick Sheard. He's an expert when it comes to FAFSA. He's been helping families for almost a decade with very nuanced situations. So he knows everything when it comes to FAFSA. I'm excited to hear him talk about common FAFSA mistakes that we see families make. Patrick, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Dan. So like you were saying, there are some common mistakes that students will make when completing the FAFSA form. So the first one that I wanted to address is something that I see all the time. A lot of the time, students will complete the incorrect FAFSA form, right? On the FAFSA website, there are two forms. There's the one for the current school year that we're in, and there's one for the next school year. The seniors of this year need to complete the FAFSA form for the next school year, which is the 26-27 FAFSA form. But a lot of the times, students will log onto the website, they see a FAFSA form and just click the first thing that they can get done. And oftentimes, it's the FAFSA form of the same year. Now, the same year FAFSA form typically stays open because of the students that are freshmen in college who may decide that they want to take summer courses, or may decide that they want to transfer to a different institution, right? So that's why that form stays populated. But the seniors of this year, you have to complete the 26-27 FAFSA form, okay? Another mistake that we always see students make is that they don't necessarily read the FAFSA form. Now, I will admit, I am a person who will not sometimes read the terms and conditions because it's so long to read, right? But with the FAFSA form, clicking one button incorrectly can make a student ineligible for aid, right? The one button that I often see students click is the button that says, have you received your bachelor's degree at the start of the next school year? And oftentimes students confuse that with diploma and decide to click yes. And if they click yes, that makes them ineligible for financial aid, because that will say, okay, well, you already received your 4-year bachelor's degree, meaning that you can't receive any grants.
And is there a way to undo that?
Yes. So luckily, the FAFSA allows you to make corrections. Okay. So if we see that that error has been made, we can easily go into the form and just recheck that box and hit no instead of yes, and then that'll make the student eligible for aid, right? So we emphasize, read the FAFSA form, read it thoroughly, because one button pushed can really decide your fate. Okay. A third mistake that students often make is that they will add more schools to their FAFSA form, but they won't hit submit, right? Whenever a FAFSA correction is being processed, students have to submit that correction all the way through. Because if they don't, then certain schools won't receive that data if they're adding another school, right? The FAFSA gives students the opportunity to add up to 20 schools, but the students have the freedom of going back into that form, removing one of the 20 and adding a different school, right? But they have to submit the form all the way through. If they don't, the school won't receive that financial aid information. So it's important, if you start a correction, if you add a school, make sure you submit the form all the way through, just so that new institution can receive your financial aid data. Another common mistake that students make is that they oftentimes want to use their school email. So they associate this, since it is an Illinois graduation requirement, with school, which it is associated with school, but they use their high school email addresses instead of using their personal professional one. Now, luckily this year, the FAFSA did make an update to where it will warn students it's looking like that you're putting a school email, use a personal one or professional one instead. But it is important that students put a professional or personal email that's not related to their high school email, because after they graduate in June, it goes away, right?
Access to it,
So it's important to put a personal or professional email. Really professional is what we recommend, but personal, just so it's not related to the school. And then one last common mistake that we often see is that students don't add in-state institutions to their FAFSA form, which is super important. The state of Illinois has a grant called the Monetary Award Program, also known as the MAP grant. The MAP grant is for Illinois residents that go to Illinois colleges and universities. So if a student doesn't put an Illinois school on their FAFSA form, a MAP award won't be calculated. And let's say they make the decision at the last second to go to an Illinois school. Well, again, because you waited to the last minute to put the Illinois school on there, you may not get what you're eligible for, right? So it is important that students put a good mix of in-state as well as out-of-state schools. Now, we get it. A lot of the time, students want to get out of state, because they want to live the college experience in another state. But a lot of the time, staying home, staying in-state can pay dividends in terms of financial aid. So we always recommend making sure that you put an in-state school on your FAFSA form, because you never know what you can be offered.
Got it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, thank you, Patrick. This has been very enlightening. If you, the audience, are listening to this and you saying, wow, that was a lot to ingest, I probably shouldn't be doing this by myself, you are correct. We offer free FAFSA services. Patrick, along with a lot of our other talented staff, are here to help you, whether it's virtually or in person. Reach out to us and we will help you. We specialize in this. We've been doing FAFSAs for over 30 years. Patrick himself has almost a decade of experience when it comes to the FAFSA. So don't be afraid to reach out and get help, because the FAFSA is often that first step into securing a college education. Well, that's all the time we have. Thanks for listening to The Next Degree. Be sure to follow us on all our social media at FAFSA Trio to have more snippets of things like this on The Next Degree podcast. This is Dan signing out.